what's up, guys? It's your girl, Papi Brit, and welcome back to the Platicando con Papi podcast. It is currently 3:42 a.m., and I decided to get my ass up and record this podcast because it's a topic I'm very passionate about. And I actually had a conversation with my girls on live about it the other day. We were talking about narcissistic relationships and narcissistic people in our lives, basically, because I was just rambling on about how I somehow always end up in a relationship or falling for a narcissist and just trying to see where that comes from. And we were all kind of relating as to a lot of the traits and characteristics that narcissists show, and like basically how we survive these narcissists, how we get out of these relationships, how we move on, or what we do to be able to like manage those relationships. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about that in general because a lot of people think that I just throw the word narcissist around, or that I'm super big on red flags because for funsies, because it's become very popularized to talk about red flags and stuff like that. But for me, I grew up with a dad that was and is a narcissist. So these are things that I have grown up with, and signs and red flags and different characteristics that I have grown up to be able to see, and I have learned to cope with and to coexist with. So it's not just coming from me just being like this man hater, or me being mad that some man did me dirty. Like, no, it's coming from a place where there was a lot of trauma, and I now see the patterns that have led me to end up dating narcissists. And it all really comes back to trauma and to the way we grew up. I grew up with a dad that was a narcissist, and I am just now coming to terms with it. I always said that my dad was a great dad but a terrible husband, and he has definitely gotten way better over the years. And I was always afraid to talk about those negative things about my dad because there are so many good things about my dad that I love and that I look up to. My dad is my person, and he is the person that I admire, that I strive to be like. He has so many good qualities, and I didn't want to take that away from him. And that's the thing with narcissists. They are charismatic. They are attractive. They are funny. They're outgoing. They are successful. They put up this front like they are these amazing people. And a lot of times they do have really good qualities, because why else would anyone else want to be with them if they weren't attractive, if it weren't successful, if they weren't nice? Like my dad, to everyone else, he's super outgoing, super caring, super giving, super hardworking, always helps people out. He's the one that everyone else can rely on. But at home, he was just a little bit different with us and with my mom, and I always resented him for it. But now I've realized that it was just his way of coping because of the way he was raised. He was raised by a mom that expected a lot from him, and so we crave connection with our family and with our parents. And as kids, we look to fill those things that our parents want us to be, that give us praise and make us feel loved and make us feel appreciated. And for my dad, it was for him to be high achieving, to make money, to take care of his family, he was forced to take care of his siblings and his mom very early on. And so I recognized that he had a lot of these traumas that he carried on. One way that I've been able to cope with it is to acknowledge that he did the best that he could with what he had, and I'm very grateful that he's been able to recognize some of those tendencies now, because I have also kind of challenged him in that way, because with my mom, it was a different dynamic. Now that I came into the picture, I am a woman too that came into his life that he cares for a lot. I am my dad's person, and so he learned that he couldn't project those narcissistic tendencies onto me. I learned to start setting those boundaries or to counteract and not like be everything that he demanded me to be, and showed him that I am my own person and that he has only a certain amount of power over me, because it's always about power with a narcissist. They want to have power. And for him, he tried to say that he had control and power over me simply because he was my dad. And so I had to really learn who I am and show him that I am an individual within myself, and that I truly, in the most respectful way, don't owe him my entire being. So yeah, that's a little bit of the background as to why I'm so passionate about this and why I feel like I have a lot of knowledge on it. And now it's kind of revealed a lot of why I end up in these narcissistic relationships, because I get frustrated with myself because I'm able to see the red flags and I see a lot of those patterns, and I've now realized that the reason I'm attracted to these men is because I've had that relationship with my dad, and I've craved that approval and that like consistency, because they're very emotionally inconsistent too. I've craved that from my dad and I've never fully received it. So I've gotten used to chasing after it and kind of molding myself and shaping myself to be what he wanted me to be. And I finally realized that I'm never going to be that. And so it's given me really like a true sense of self and allowed me to be able to, I guess, tolerate these relationships a little more, which is not good, because when you end up in these relationships, it like the best way to like get through them is to kind of learn how to manage them. And I've had to learn how to manage my relationship with my dad by not really engaging when he's trying to manipulate me, or when he's trying to gaslight me, or when he's trying to make me feel bad about something. Kind of just stand my ground, step back, don't engage, and I remember who I am. And I'm literally shaking talking about this because it makes me so nervous, because this is like very vulnerable, but like I think it's a topic that really needs to be talked about. There's so many women that have dealt with individuals like that in their life, and it doesn't always have to be romantic. Like, people think that I talk about red flags just in like a romantic standpoint, but no, I talk about it in any kind of relationship that you have, whether it's with a friend, with your mom, your brother, whoever. Narcissism is just a quality that someone can have. It's not the entirety of their being, and that's why it's so hard to hate narcissists sometimes, because like I said with my dad, even just going back to that, like he was a really good dad to me a lot of times. Like, even like there was times where he was shitty, but there was times where he was really, really, really good. And that's what keeps a lot of people in those narcissistic relationships. When I've been in those relationships, like in a romantic standpoint, we had our good days. We had those days where we had so much fun, and where we just felt like we connected, and like we hold on to those good days. And everyone that I've ever talked to that was in a relationship, what kept them kind of like clinging on was the thought of those good days, and the hope that they show you glimpses of what they could be, so you hang on to that. It becomes kind of like an addiction. You crave those highs, you crave the moments when you're so happy and laughing and having so much fun and making those good memories, and so you crave that, and then you end up in that cycle, because then once they lure you back in, they end up getting back to gaslighting you, to manipulating you, to making you feel small, to isolating you, to keeping you away from the people that you care about, to keeping you away from the people that you love, to breaking down your confidence, to really making you so small so that they can manipulate the fuck out of you. And you end up apologizing and feeling so small and just trying to justify yourself and over explaining, and it gets exhausting, and they just wear you down. And that's what they want to do. Narcissism is about control. A lot of these people feel like they didn't have control growing up, or they didn't have praise. They have this victim mentality, kind of like the world owes them something, or that they believe that they are greater than everyone else. They feel grandiose, and they feel like they're never wrong, and they feel like they don't have to change. My dad would always say that he was never wrong. He never apologized. And he said that he always joked about this, but he really did believe it, that everyone else was just dumb, stupid, didn't work hard enough, didn't do this, whatever, and that he was right. I could never tell him that he was wrong. He never knew how to apologize until I started setting those boundaries growing up. As I got older and showing him that I could stand my ground, that I really had to reclaim my power and show him that, like, he didn't have that type of control over me anymore, and that if he wanted to maintain a relationship with me, he was going to have to learn how to properly respect my boundaries, how to apologize, how to admit he's wrong. And that was really hard for him because he never grew up having parents that did that for him, or knowing how to do that. He never tells me that he loves me. He doesn't know how to, but I know that he does. And the way that I've learned that he does is because he's worked to change those parts about him so that we can have a relationship as father and daughter that is healthy for the both of us. We've gotten to the point where I've had to tell him, like, hey, if you don't respect me and if you don't respect my boundaries, then this isn't gonna work. And as much as I love you and I care about you, I'm gonna have to distance myself. And so that's really what's gotten him to kind of change, because he's been held accountable. And narcissists hate being held accountable. They have very fragile egos. Anytime that you hold them accountable, they see it as a personal attack. They see it as, oh, so you're perfect, you do everything right, I guess I'm wrong, I'm always wrong, I can never do anything right, I'm just a piece of shit, I guess. Like, they make themselves the victim, and then you end up being like, no, like, I was just trying to say, like, I really don't like it that you're not considerate of my time. And they take it to a whole nother extreme and they flip it on you, and then you end up being the one that ends up apologizing. They don't know how to apologize. They will deflect. They'll be like, it wasn't that bad. They get defensive, and then they start to blame shift. They will figure out a way to flip it on you. They will never ever see anything wrong, and it's more of a tit for tat. They're playing this game with themselves where it's like, okay, well, before you can hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you. They keep track of any possible thing that you could do wrong so that they can use it against you later on. They might cheat on you, they might beat you, they might have a baby on you, they might do this and that, but you went out one night and you had a guy buy you a drink, so now you're a whore, and now you deserve all these shitty things that I've done to you. They will never take accountability for any of their faults. If they do, they apologize because they're tired of you being mad at them. If you end up in a relationship like this, you will end up apologizing. You will end up over explaining yourself, and you will end up so fucking drained that at some point you just get tired. And that's when it turns kind of into a coping mechanism. I would always ask my mom why she wouldn't leave my dad, and she always just said, you know what, just let him be. When he was in a mood, she would just let him be. And I was watching this podcast with Jay Shetty. I don't know what the fuck his name is, but he interviews Dr. Ramani. She has studied narcissists all the way around, inside and out, and has, like, there's a lot of podcasts and interviews that she does about narcissists. So you should definitely go check her out. She also has a book called Should I Stay or Should I Go, which I really, really, really want to read. It's basically just talking about being in that narcissistic relationship and, like, trying to figure out whether you should stay, whether you should go, like, because we all get into that point where it's like, it's not good for you, but you can't leave because it's a cycle. It's a cycle, and they know exactly how to get you back. They're going to do all the right things. They're going to say all the right things. They're going to love bomb the fuck out of you. They're going to act right. They're going to show you what you wish they could be. You're going to finally get to a point where you have to decide, am I going to continue on with this, or am I gonna leave? I always say this, but I can't blame anyone that stays. I always ask my mom, like, why don't you leave him? Why don't you leave him? But now I look at it, my mom didn't want a broken family. A lot of people, due to their religion, how they were raised, economic circumstances, like a lot of different reasons, like people don't leave. And I can't blame them for not leaving, because not leaving is also an act of resistance. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of power for someone to decide to stay. And I used to get so mad at my mom because I used to be like, well, she is so weak. Why doesn't she leave him? And then I realized that her staying was the bravest thing that she could do. And I give her so much credit for that. She saw the good in my dad and didn't want to take that away from me and my brothers. And it's a very complicated situation. But now I see why she stayed. And I give her all the flowers for doing so. She is so strong. And she is such a beautiful soul. And I think she's the biggest reason as to why I didn't turn out being that way. I feel like a lot of people that end up in narcissistic relationships, the reason they're able to survive through them or to be able to stay in them, even if they don't want to, just because they can't leave for whatever reason, I found that they have a lot of coping mechanisms. One of the biggest things is that narcissists try to rob you of your energy. They cling on to people with good hearts that are empaths, that will give them that nurture and consistency and care that they always crave, but they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to treat it, and they're used to chaos in their life. So when that peace and that calmness comes into their life, they just mistreat it. They try to poke at it to get a reaction, to show the world that everyone's the same. My most previous person was that same way. He would try to find and poke at me and find whatever was wrong with me, because he couldn't believe someone just genuinely loved and cared about him as he was, and was able to, like, willing to just nurture him and accept him for everything that he was. He didn't have to put his front up. He was so used to doing that he didn't know how to, like, handle it, and that's okay. A lot of them hold a lot of resentment towards people in their life, people that they did let their guard down with. Like, they have a lot of resentment, and so they put up this shield. And I've seen it with my dad. I've seen it with the men in my life that I have been romantically involved in, and it all tracks. It's all the same. And a lot of them have really good relationships and people that they care about. I've seen that a lot of them are very big, like mama's boys. My dad's a big mama's boys. Or like they have a daughter that they love to pieces. Like they know what genuine love is, but it's very hard for them to give it, because they're scared of rejection. They're scared of being hurt. They're scared of being seen as weak. It all comes back to power. It all comes back to ego. And when their ego is hurt, it gets ugly. It gets physical sometimes. It can escalate so fast. And so when I talk about red flags, I talk about them because I know what level they can get to, and that's why I get mad at myself. And I think I'm finally getting through this last karmic relationship, basically, to where from here on out I don't play about red flags. I don't play about those inconsistencies. Like, I take note of everything, and I take everything for face value, because that's one thing, is what a narcissist shows you is what they are. At first, they're going to love bomb the fuck out of you. They're going to be witty. They're going to be charming. They're going to do everything right until they trap you. That's the same thing with my mom. I always ask her, I was like, well, like, how could you be attracted to him? Like, how? And she always says, like, when we started dating, he was nothing like this. He was like you see him with everybody else. That's how he was with me. And then we got married. I don't blame people that end up falling for narcissists. I can't blame myself, because they know how to get you. They grab the empaths, they grab the people with good hearts. They know how to trap you, and then they know that you care enough to want to help them, to want to prove your love to them, to want to change them. But they're never going to change, because they don't see anything wrong with what they're doing. They don't see anything wrong with who they are or the way they're treating you. They have no empathy. And once you start to learn that and take them for face value, that shit isn't cute anymore. Like, for me, I've learned, and what's helped me a lot is to see it as an ick. Inconsistency is an ick. You threatening me in any way, shape, or form, even jokingly, is an ick. Someone that can't let their guard down, that's emotionally immature, that's an ick. I don't care, because when it comes down to it, it also comes down to my safety, because it turns into gaslighting, it turns into manipulation, it turns into isolation, it turns into mental abuse, it turns into physical abuse. And I'm not about to play about that anymore. It's not funny, it's not cute, and that's why I'm so vocal about it, because I've seen the effects of it. For anyone that's in a relationship that's like that right now, and I'm speaking to myself, leave as soon as you can. As soon as you see the red flag, distance yourself. What's going to save you is having those people that ground you, where you can bloom and be yourself, and where you are loved authentically and wholeheartedly. Do the things that bring you back to yourself. If you decide to stay, I get it. My mom, like I said, decided to stay, but she found those things that keep her happy, keep her going, and that bring her back to herself. I always wondered why my mom confided so much in me, and why she loved having kids, and why she craved to have that companionship, and why she was so attached to me, and why she loves when I come over and just like tells me everything. That's because I'm a safe space for her. So find those safe spaces for you, your mom, your sister, me, whoever, that's gonna like where you can just let your guard down, because sometimes it gets too much to carry. And a lot of people that are in these relationships have this sense of shame. Like, they stop telling their family, they stop telling their friends, they stop telling people what goes on, because they're made to feel stupid for staying. And I trust me, like me right here right now, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're brave. And I'm so proud of you for still being able to recognize that what you're in isn't healthy. And if at whatever point you feel the safe enough to leave, do so. And don't look back, because trust that they're going to come back, and they're going to try to reel you back in, and it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get lonely. That's why it's important to know who you are, so that they can't break you down. They can't tell you who you are. And so that when they leave, you still know who you are, and you can get back to those things. That's why when I've been in those relationships, I fight so hard to still be able to keep my friends, to keep my guy friends, to still visit my family, to still go to the gym, to still go out, to still post on social media, to still be myself, because they don't want me to be that. Narcissists don't like anyone outshining them. They Do you see how much anxiety this causes me? Because I'm telling you, it hits close to home. It's like an ego boost to break someone down. They see the light in you, and they want to take that from you. They see it as like a conquest, basically. And like, it comes back to power. They feel powerful, and they will drain all of that out of you. So you need to be able to reclaim that, take that away from them. That is what will literally, that's how you be a narcissist. You don't give them your power. You don't try to over explain yourself. You know who you are. You stand on who you are. You don't let them manipulate you, because you know who you are. That's the same thing with these men that in my comments that try to tell me that I'm this, that I'm that. I always say, like, you can never tell me anything about myself, because look, I grew up with a dad that's probably already told me that. Me knowing who I am, like, shuts those people out now. I'm able to kind of even just like laugh it off and brush it off, because as shitty as it is to have been through these relationships and grown up in these situations, it's made me so much stronger. It's given me a sense of self. It's shown me that no matter the circumstances and how shitty people can be to you, you can still have a good heart. It's allowed me to see the duality in people, and see that there is space for multiple truths, that someone can be good, but they can also be really, really shitty, that you can love someone, but still have to distance yourself, that you can be a good person and set boundaries. There's always a lesson. The people that get it, and it's so serious to me. And like I always say, like, I hope that you know that if you are in a relationship like this, you can come to me, you can talk to me. I'm there for you. I see you. I feel you. I want you to be safe. I love you. You're not crazy. You don't have to apologize. You are more than enough by just existing. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You are worthy. You are strong. You are powerful. You are beautiful. Okay? Yeah, I think that's basically all I had to say. I felt so called to record this video, and I don't know, I think I really just spoke from the heart. You guys saw me shaking, damn near crying, because this was very vulnerable for me. But I feel like this is a topic that is so swept under the rug, but so many women deal with this shit. There is so much more that I can talk about this. I do want to make a video